This is the Puyallup City Council meeting for December 10th, 2024. I'm the Mayor, Jim Castema. I want to welcome everyone here this evening. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, I want to thank everyone for being here this evening. At this time, we usually scan the audience to see if there's any youth in the audience from our local schools, and I'm going to make the estimate that there are none, okay? If there is someone who happens to be, well, no, I'm just going to keep going, let's put it that way. With that, we're going to move on to item number 1, and that's approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Let's move on to point number 2, consideration of minutes. 2A, approval of the November 12th, 2024 minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. In favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Let's move on to 2B, approval of the November 19th, 2024 minutes.
So
Do I have a
moved.
motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Now we move on to citizens' comments. This is our favorite section where the public gets the opportunity to speak. You each get to speak for 3 minutes. Councilmember Johnson, do you have a point of order or
Just a
something?
little bit, Mr. Mayor. Just, I think they might be looking for a roll call, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, thank you. That was an excellent point to point out. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Deputy Mayor King,
Yeah, excused.
Councilmember Gilliam,
Present.
Councilmember Whitting,
Present.
Councilmember Dorr,
Excused.
Councilmember Adler,
Present.
Councilmember Johnson,
Present.
Mayor Castema.
Present. With that, I'd like to note that Councilmember Dorr, her mother just passed away within the last few days. And we send our condolences to her, our prayers and thoughts. And I just wanted to note that Councilmember Dorr has been in service to this community as a council member for, I think, now going on 11, 12 years. And she's been a very integral part of this, and she certainly is missed, but we understand the priorities of her family, and we, again, wish her prayers and thoughts at this point of grieving for her family. With that, let's move on to citizens' comments, and I will go ahead and take them in the order of people who have signed up. If you'd like to make a comment, please go ahead and fill one of these out, but also keep in mind that when we're through with everyone here, I do allow anyone who has not filled out one of these forms to come forward and speak at that time. It's just that you won't be in the queue like others who have presented it. With that, could I have the city clerk please read the guidelines for public comment?
This part of the meeting is for general citizen comments. Please reserve any public hearing testimony to that section of the agenda. The mayor will call on those who have provided their names in advance. Then the mayor will call for other citizens who wish to speak. For the record, please state your name and address or city council district in which you reside. Please direct your comments to the council as a whole, not individual council members. All comments are limited to 3 minutes. The clerk will provide verbal notice when only 30 seconds remain. As a reminder, this portion of the meeting is council's opportunity to hear from the community and not a time to engage in debate. Lastly, per state law, this public comment period cannot be used to speak in support of or in opposition to a ballot measure or individual candidacy, and no such comments will be allowed.
Thank you. With that, Andy Anderson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Andy Anderson, District 2. I'm here with a story that you've heard before, but some stories are just worth telling again. Right after December 7th, 1941, there was an air defense artillery unit that had been activated earlier that year from Washington, D.C. and sent to Texas for training. Within a week after the 7th, on the 13th, 30 rail cars pulled up here, and the unit was stationed for 90 days in the fairgrounds. Cold water showers, staying in the stalls, and they were taken into the bosom of the community. And this is where Puyallup really shined, because these kids were from the far end of the world. They were their first Christmas away from home, and they were adopted by the community. And one of the real heartwarming aspects of this was that not many of them could get off at one time, and they couldn't be gone very long. And people put off their Christmas dinners for days so that they could get a handful of GIs to share Christmas dinner with them. But that's one of the best parts about Puyallup. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Appreciate those comments. And just so everyone knows, Andy Anderson is our resident historian, and his wife has written a book about the history of Puyallup, and I highly recommend that people read it. I think they'll absolutely be amazed at where the city has been in the past. And of course, we are about its future, and we clearly want to match that and exceed those expectations if we can. So with that, let's move on to the next individual, John Hopkins, please.
John Hopkins, District 1. I didn't see anything in the agenda package that gave a description of the Cornforth Campbell site, so I'm going to make something up. And I'm going to go to the year 2040 and look down Meeker from 5th. And if you look down there, it's called a view terminus, I think the planners call it, you'll see the mansion. And if you keep walking along that road, there will be more and more residential, because that's been encouraged, and there will be developments. And then when you get to Meeker and Meridian, it'll open up to Festival Street, which I think is probably the most brilliant idea I've heard in a long, long time. And I totally support what you're doing there. I think it's a spectacular gateway. And then the next step, of course, what used to be called Cornforth Campbell, I'm sure you'll call it something different now, something Plaza. Hopefully there's a nod to the tribe, because after all, Meeker had a great relationship with the tribe. There's a lot of history there. Andy could tell you that bit. I'm hoping it's a plaza. I'm hoping there's no tall buildings. There's artwork, places to sit, that it's multi-purpose. Pavers, all the kind of good stuff that you'd have. Like Tacoma's got its Tollefson, if I can pronounce it right, Plaza, that kind of a thing. And then when you continue looking towards the east, probably sitting at a nice place, you know, within the plaza, you should be able to see the entire mansion. And why do I say that? Because at that particular point, the people that our illustrious mayor has pointed out in the audience will actually be sitting up there in your place. And I know you've been encouraging them. And they'll be looking at 3rd Street Antiques, and they'll be going, what on earth is that ugly building there? Why is that still there? And someone will probably say, well, it was protected by the mayor at that time, and he's long since gone. Oh, well, how about we just cough up some money and level it? Because that's really what needs to happen when the time is right.
30 seconds.
And I'm absolutely convinced that's exactly what will happen. And then you'll have a perfect plaza, you'll have a wonderful view, and Meeker Mansion will be starting to develop, you know, the plans that we've already heard before. And things will be good. And with that, season's greetings, Merry Christmas, and all that kind of stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Now let's move on to Steve Aldridge.
Evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here to talk a little bit about your comp plan. I voiced my concerns to the staff, as well as they're going to give them on to the Planning Commission. And it goes back about 2014. The city was annexing some property, and they asked me if I wanted to be part of it. And the first question I asked was, well, what's the zoning gonna be? Well, we're not doing the zoning. We're just annexing. Zoning is part of the comp plan. I'm back. We're in the comp plan now. So we need to take a look at that. My concern is the whole comp plan is how your city is gonna look in the future. It covers everything, all aspects. My biggest concern is on the UGAs, nobody's addressed any of the zoning in the UGAs. It's been that zone for 40-plus years, single-family residentials. Anywhere on the UGAs, I haven't seen where they've changed it in the plan. It's just, it still stays the same. So I don't really understand how the plan can be complete and how your city is going to grow if you don't plan on what your UGAs are gonna be actually zoned at. We should really take a look at that instead of just rubber stamping it to make a deadline on your comp plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Laura, last name?
Lair.
Lair. Yes, Laura Lair, please.
Hello, everyone.
Laura, could you move the microphone a little closer there?
I'm coming back. I was here in June about a petition that I got together about improving the property next to where we live. I live in the Viking Co-op neighborhood, which is 7th Street, 7th Place, right off of East Pioneer. And that whole corner is a hot mess. So we've been trying to, work with you guys and with Shane in particular, your code enforcement manager, to get things cleaned up. So I thought we were moving in that direction, according to everything that he said and everyone else that I talked to. But then the other day, he calls me and he starts to say, well, if those people clean it up, then the city doesn't have to. And this is after I thought we'd already gotten the abatement thing through and we were going to court and everything was going to move forward with the city taking it over and cleaning it up. So that went backwards. The next thing he says is, they're putting up these like garage-looking things, but they're tarps, basically is what it is. Tarps, lots of tarps. And he said, well, they're allowed to have those. And I was like, we're allowed to have 20 at least of those? And all they're doing is covering up, I don't know what, a lot of cars, a lot of junk. They have taken out quite a bit of junk, but the cars, et cetera, are still there. And then I told him that there's people living in those motorhomes that have no way to clean out their waste. There's people living in there. And he said, well, they told me they weren't. And I'm like, have you been back there? Yes, we can see, through our fencing along there. Yeah, they are, anyway. And then he told me that the cars on the property have to be running and licensed.
30 seconds.
And they're not. So that's why I'm back. And any help that any of you can give me, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura. Our city manager, I know, is fully aware of this, as is Shane Perone, our code compliance officer, and we will continue to be in touch on this issue. Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Chris Taylor.
Good evening, Chris Taylor, District 2, 19th Avenue Southwest. I was going to speak on the Cornforth Campbell, but thank goodness Kerry Yanisak showed up. He was stuck in traffic. So I'll speak about the Santa Parade. I want to first of all thank the council members all for participating, and whoever prayed to the weather gods, successful. We had a beautiful, beautiful day. It was huge success. We didn't have any incidents that I know of. It was a great time. And I can tell you that Main Street Association is much appreciated. The citizens of Puyallup are much appreciative of you allowing us to put this on, and looking forward to the improvement of the Cornforth Campbell. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. The parade was absolutely outstanding. Appreciate your comments. Now I've gone through all of the individuals who have filled out this form. However, if anyone else would like to come forward and speak, and I think you did mention one other person that was caught in traffic. Carrie, it's good to see you. Carrie Ensack with Main Street Association.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Kerry Yanasak, District 2, and the Director for the Puyallup Main Street Association. And yes, Saturday was a great day to be downtown Puyallup, and I have to add one thing. The only comment I had regarding any of the 110 people groups that went through the parade was the mariachi band. People love that. So I'm here to throw downtown support for the redevelopment of the Cornforth Campbell site. So we have spent a lot of money with facade grants and improvements, and we've worked very well with the city, and the city has partnered with us to do everything we can to make downtown more attractive and a great asset for the 42,000 people that call Puyallup their home. And we've done as much as we can, and we're going to be doing more. But there is this huge eyesore downtown that has been there for a long time. When people come through town, they may appreciate everything downtown, but ultimately they're going to go by that site, and it does not look very attractive. It's not a good representation for Puyallup today. So we are very excited that this is going to get developed. We have lots of things downtown. You know, we have 26 bars and restaurants downtown. I realize there's going to be a few more there, but the more the merrier. Downtown is becoming a destination for foodies. Having more people live downtown to take advantage of the retail that we've created as an asset to downtown. I think the structure will look very nice. It'll be a huge cleanup, and you have Main Street's support of this 100%. To get this thing developed. I'm very excited that and the AOB lot, Puyallup, is going to look very different in a couple, 2 or 3 years from now, and we are very excited about this. It's about time. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate those comments. Anyone else wishing to come forward? You could speak on any issue. Seeing none, we're going to move now on to the number 3 item. Now that's the consent agenda, and this is a number of items that there is consensus of passing, and with one vote, we pass them all. If there is any item on the consent agenda that a member would like to have set aside for further discussion, please make that known now. If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Okay, let's move on to number 4, an ordinance. This is the second reading of an ordinance to vacate a portion of 22nd Avenue Northwest. Public Works Director Ken Davies, if you'd like to be available for any questions. We already voted, obviously, first reading on this, but does any member have any questions? Okay, seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve second reading of the ordinance.
So moved. Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. We'll go straight to roll call on this. Clerk, could you please read the roll call?
Councilmember Gilliam,
Aye.
Councilmember Whitting,
Aye.
Councilmember Adler,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Mayor Kastner.
Aye. Now we'll move on to 4B, second reading of an ordinance to the 2024 routine budget adjustments. We have our Finance Director, Barbara Lopez. She is available if there are any questions. And if you do have a question, please note that now.
Move approval?
Okay, there's a motion to move approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, let's go ahead and move straight to roll call. City Clerk, please.
Councilmember Whitting,
Aye.
Councilmember Adler,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Gilliam,
Aye.
Mayor Kastner.
Aye. Now we'll move on to number 5, consideration of requests. 5A, this is what we've heard a lot of people discussing, alluding to this evening, and that is the Downtown Economic Development Project that we'd like to bring forward. It's a proposed mixed-use project on city-owned property known as the Cornforth Campbell property. Steve Kirkley, please go ahead and introduce us to this item.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. Steve Kirkley, your city manager. And very excited to be here this evening to talk about the future development at the Cornforth Campbell property. I know all of you know where that is, but just to remind everyone, this is the property that the city owns that is between Main and Meeker, and 2nd and 3rd right in downtown Puyallup, right across the street from Meeker Mansion. We are here tonight to present a proposal for the future use of that property. And before I introduce the gentleman who will be presenting, I just want to just mention something, that what you see tonight really is a culmination of a lot of hard work on the city council's part, on this community's part, and is very intentional. This is not something that we are coming here tonight just kind of willy-nilly, so to speak. I was thinking back over the past several years and how the city council has directed staff and the community has provided input onto the critical component of our downtown and this city-owned property. If you go back and you look back in, all the way back to 2005, probably even before then, but if you look back to 2005 and the charrette that was done here in Puyallup, involving hundreds of people over the course of several months, that charrette had 10 implementation strategies. The number 2 strategy was a catalyst project called redevelopment of the Cornforth Campbell property. That was back in 1995. Fast forward, a lot of environmental cleanup that has gone on over the past decade into our 2019 economic development plan. You look in that, strategy 4, support residential development in downtown, and you heard from Carrie and others talking about that. You go to your strategic plan, the 23-24 strategic plan that we're wrapping up. Vibrant economy goal, outcome number 1.3, residential development in downtown on city-owned property, specifically calls out the Cornforth Campbell property. More recent 2024 community survey results that you've heard about. One of the categories in there is on economic vitality. And our residents, over 400 residents, and this was administered by a private entity, so city staff didn't have anything to do with it. Some of the questions were on economic vitality, and thanks to Carrie and Main Street and many others, we have a very vibrant downtown. But our residents said, we want more of that. And so one of the areas that they have said is very important for you as city leaders is to focus on the vibrancy of downtown. Look at our comprehensive plan, the work you're doing. We have 2 regional growth centers in a city the size of 44,000. Very unusual. Usually you might have 1, not 2. Downtown is one of those. You all have clearly said, we want residential development and mixed-use projects in downtown. And then our Meeker Festival Street project. Great direction. You all have approved that design. That will be going to construction in 2026 is the plan. And really activating that boulevard, that pedestrian-oriented space. This proposal that you'll see tonight is clearly a nexus to that. So I say all of this, not to preach at you by any means, but just to kind of talk about the intentionality of this project. So this evening, there will be 2 presentations. The first one will be by Brian Veneman with Form Placemaking. Brian has done this type of work for other cities, City of Vancouver, Washington, City of Woodinville, Washington, and probably many others that I'm not thinking of. So Brian will kind of walk through how we got to where we are here with this particular project. And then Robert Gibson, who's the president of Palindrome Communities, will come up and talk about the proposal. We'll show you pictures and walk you through the proposal that will be before you. I also want to acknowledge that Meredith Neal, our Development and Permitting Services Director, is the city's project manager on this, has done a lot of good work on it. She's available for questions. And then Ken Davies has really kind of led the efforts on environmental cleanup on the property, so he is also available. We're not asking you to make any decisions tonight. This is just simply rolling out the proposal. When they're all done, I'll come back up and we'll talk about some next steps. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I'll turn it over to Brian.
Thank you for that presentation.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve, and thank you, Council. Thank you for having me here. So let's see if I can advance the slides. There we go. I just have to be patient, I guess. So as the city manager said, I will speak first, and I'm just going to do a little more of what city manager did, which is just kind of tell the story about how we came to tonight over the last really about 22 years since the city purchased the property in a very succinct way, hopefully. And then Robert will talk about the project itself, and then I'll come back and talk about some of the numbers that are most pertinent to the city, some of the jobs that will be created, the city revenues associated with the project. And since Steve did a good job of summarizing how we came here, I'm gonna try to be brief. But first of all, the city purchased the property in 2002. It's been a while, 22 years. You can see a picture of the property. There's multiple properties involved, but I'll just say the property here outlined in yellow. It's about 1.8 acres all told, including some city right-of-way, 2nd Street. A lot of environmental cleanup has been conducted primarily by the former owners of the site, but with city involvement, car dealership and service garage on the site. And according to the information I got, the city began contemplating uses for the site in 1993. Steve says 1995. It was a long time ago, about 30 years, when the city, even prior to ownership, started thinking about what could become of this site. So zooming forward to 2018, this is one of the times when the city began to focus on this site with some financial analysis and reports that were done looking at redevelopment of the site, and a few things that I think are still pertinent. One is that this development of the site won't be easy for some reasons. You can see that in the second bullet point. There are soil conditions on this site, still to this day, obviously. The Lahar zone, which requires additional foundation improvements, potentially deep pilings, and environmental issues having to do with two Department of Ecology acknowledged environmental situations on or near the site. So that creates additional costs for the site. And the conclusion of the analysis in 2018 was that support from the city, various incentives would be necessary in order to affect the redevelopment of the site. That's still the case, and I'll talk about some of the actions that we foresee the city playing here. But consistent with what Steve said, as I look at the policy documents that the city has adopted in the past, they just seem really consistent. I think you'll see that with Palindrome's proposal. This is one of them. That this is the vision from the 2019 Economic Development Plan that downtown Puyallup is the city's centerpiece with employees, shoppers, residents. The new buildings are denser, that are compatible with historic structures, and that we've got a range of housing types. And again, you'll see that, I think, reflected in the proposal and the architectural plans. The city then looked at this site specifically, potentially for a public market. And again, I think the intent of this is carried forth in the proposal you'll see tonight. One of the things that this analysis showed a few years ago for the city was that if the city were to build and own that public market, it would cost a considerable amount of money. And I think what we're showing tonight is a more cost-effective way for the city to achieve those types of ends. And public markets like Puyallup Market and Wenatchee are, I think, fantastic things for downtowns, and I think it's what Palindrome will propose can have the potential to be great for Puyallup with your great farmers market tradition and all the agricultural products that are grown and sold here. I began working with the city and with Steve and Meredith in 2022 with the help of an architectural firm. We developed a bunch of potential designs for the site. You can see some of them here. Option C on the right had townhomes along with the market hall. Option A had market hall apartments and townhomes. And we consulted with the council and staff and others. And these, along with one other that I just couldn't fit on the slide, were presented to developers when we shared the city's concepts and said we'd like to have proposals. And I do want to say, because there have been some questions raised, that we did bring to the development community the option to build townhomes exclusively on the site, which are shown here in option C. So that was one of the options we said was acceptable to the city. These are all the the vision that we put forth in that RFP in 2023, so about a little over a year and a half ago. And I guess rather than read through all these, I think this really shows a continuation with the previous visions for downtown. And also, if you look through these, in my view, these are what Palindrome responded to, and I think they show that continuation of the city's intent, hopefully realized in the site. In 2022 and largely in 2023, we did a lot of developer outreach. Steve and Meredith wanted me to just kind of show the extent of work we did to try to get as many developer proposals as possible. We contacted numerous developers and architects. We did a site tour. We created a website that was dedicated to this process and the property, advertised in several papers, and got a story in the DJC. We received 3 proposals in, I believe, February or March of last year. And all of them had a considerable number of apartments, over 100. Palindrome's, all the proposals were unique. Palindrome's was unique in certain regards that ultimately led staff and the city to select them to negotiate with. So some of those unique features were that they included a market hall that's like a public market with multiple tenant spaces for smaller tenants, a tap room or a brewery, both a variety of different housing types, so owner-occupied townhomes and apartments. And I didn't put up there, but affordable apartments, which we'll talk more about, and market rate apartments that had that variety, a plaza, and other features, which we'll go into, which Robert will go into. And then, Palindrome was also unique in the aspect that they, from the projects we've seen, they tend to be a long-term owner and operator of the tap room, of the market hall buildings, and so they could assure to the city that they will own and operate it for a long time, whereas the other developers could not do so. So that was important. This is a list of the public benefits. I think I've talked about many of those, but I'll skip to some of those that I haven't talked about or just mentioned. So some public parking will be retained in the project. It's a minimum of 20 spaces, so that'll be accessible to members of the community. I believe currently we're saying 9 to 5. I could be off by an hour on those hours, but at least 20 spaces, electric vehicle charging stations, storage space for events that take place on Meeker. I mentioned the affordable and market rate units, brick facades on the ground floor, public restrooms that will be available, we assume, during festivals on Meeker, potentially at other times if the city decided. And then I'll talk later about the property and sales tax and impact fees that will be generated by the project. Palindrome will be undergrounding utilities in 2nd Street and doing a range of environmental mitigation and allow for monitoring of the site in an ongoing way. So, overall, my view, and perhaps yours, is that this is a project that's consistent with the city's visions over a long period of time. It's also a project that is going to be costly and challenging for any developer, and so there are some ways in which the city has supported this project, and I think are merited. And that I think that when we look at the details that Robert will share, I think this project is consistent with your vision. So with that, I'll pass it off to Robert, and I'll come back and talk about some of the numbers later.
Great. Thank you. Robert Gibson with Palindrome Properties Group. I'm based in Portland, Oregon. Thank you for having me tonight to visit your city and present our concept for the Cornforth Campbell site. We're really excited to be working in the city. We've been working with staff and met with several members of the community over the last year, and really happy to be here to continue moving this project forward. I'll give a little history of Palindrome for those who may not know about us. I know a lot of the people at the city have worked with us and know our story, but we're a real estate development company based in Portland, but we really don't call ourselves a real estate development and investment company. We joke and often tell our coworkers and people that we meet that we're in the energy business, and that we create energy in the places that we redevelop. We really have a passion for reimagining places like the Cornforth Campbell site where there's a deep history and where we respect that history, but we recognize that there's so much potential that we can unlock for the future. And so that's really what our passion is, to find projects to reimagine and recreate a future for them. One of the things that's unique about our company is that not only are we a real estate company, but we also are fully integrated, and that's rare for a real estate investment company. We have a construction company, so we build our own projects. We have really good understanding of quality. We're building for ourselves, so we don't cut corners. We're able to control costs and deliver a higher quality project because of that. We also have a property management company, so we are hands-on. So we're seeing things happen in real time and can respond to those issues in real time and make partnerships with the community with our on-site management company. We also have a hospitality company, Somos Destinations, which includes the management of food halls, hotels, motels, as well as a full-scale production brewery. We actually brew beer and can it all the way from Northern California up to the Canadian border, so you can find our beer in local grocery stores under the brand Zoigle House. So we're a award-winning beer manufacturer as well. So we're a very interesting company that we can provide all of these different components to a project, and pretty much every portion of our company will be involved in some way in this development. Palindrome was created in 1999. I've been with Palindrome for 23 of those 25 years. And over that time, I've worked on 50 projects similar to this one. So I have a lot of experience. I've learned a lot of lessons, and we continue to improve on each project that we undertake. We have done a mix of housing, over 8,200 housing units, and that's a mix of some for sale, but most of our experience on the housing side is in developing rental housing, both affordable and workforce and market rate housing. We also have done over 100,000 square feet of commercial space. Typically, those are part of mixed-use developments like the one we're proposing here, where it's a fully integrated project with ground floor commercial included. As I mentioned, we've done at least 50 public-private partnerships similar to this. Some of them are simpler; they're not as exciting and complex as the one we're working on today, and some of them are a little larger. And oftentimes, it takes us anywhere from 3 to 10 years to complete those projects. So we really tonight and going forward, we'll become partners with the city and business owners downtown and members of the community, and we really look forward to meeting people along the way and building those relationships. One of the things that we specialize or we bring to our mixed-use projects are restaurants, food halls, and tap rooms. And one thing that's different about us is that we actually operate those businesses. We do rent space to other businesses, other restaurants and small businesses. But one of the things that we do is open our own restaurants and manage the food halls. So we have a lot of experience, and that oftentimes you'll hear promises made that there's going to be something great coming, and then you'll see an empty space for years waiting for those things to come. And we're not patient enough for that, so we just jump right in and create those businesses and operate them. So for this project, we will bring a brewery from Portland. We have a master brewer that's based in Portland. So we'll have a brewery operation. We'll manage the food hall. And I don't think that we'll operate any of the specific restaurant pods, but we do have a lot of experience in that side. One of the projects that we're modeling this one after is called the Zed. I think some of the city staff has visited that. It was a very similar story. It was an empty building with an old carpet store that had a lot of similar attributes as the Cornforth Campbell property. And we converted that into an empty space, into a vibrant food hall and a partnership with a farmer's market. And now when you go there on a Saturday afternoon, there's hundreds of people there and families gathering and celebrating. So it's really rewarding to see that happen at the Zed. As part of that, we have Zoil House Brewing, which is our production brewery. And then further down south in Albuquerque, New Mexico, we have two other similar projects that have a motel concept, tap room, event center, and food court. So we have a lot of experience in developing and operating the type of project that we're proposing today. I'm going to show you a few of the example projects that, just a selection of some of the projects that we've completed recently. Because when I get to the renderings or the concepts for the project here, you'll notice that they're very cartoony, and that's intentional. We're not trying to present tonight what the project's really going to look like. We mostly want to show the scale and the size of it in the renderings. So it's important for me to show everyone some of the projects that we have completed in real photos versus renderings. This project that's on the screen is Oliver Station. It's in southeast Portland. It was a contaminated site. There was formerly a gas station there and a nightclub that was a problem for the community. So we raised both of those buildings and recreated a 145-unit mixed income project. It's mostly affordable, but it also has 30,000 square feet of ground floor commercial. Our concept here was to include, kind of a healthcare concept. So there's a Planet Fitness and a health clinic and a dentist. But as you can see in this rendering or this picture, there's brick on the first 4 stories, and the top has metal and very nice windows and balconies. So this is very similar to the type of materials that we propose for the Puyallup project. This is also in Lynch. You can see in one of the photos the project I just talked about, Oliver Station. But what's interesting about this one, the Buckley, is the white building that's the stucco building was built in 1914. It was an Oddfellows Hall. And we really believe in preserving the history, and a lot of people thought we were crazy and said we should just tear it down, and it didn't make sense economically, but we really felt like it was important to preserve the building and give it new life. So we converted that into 3 lofts and 4 apartments, and then re-energized the ground floor with live workspace. And then we wrapped that with 40 new rental apartments. On this project, it also has that similar dark brick and storefront glazing on the ground floor and metal siding with black windows. Also very similar in scale to what we're proposing for the residential component of our project here. This is a luxury community, very different style, but it's a 6-story building, 171 units in Tempe, Arizona. This one was 100% luxury. It did have some ground floor residential, but it also was a former brownfield site next to the railroad. So we have a lot of experience in dealing with environmental issues and similar to the issues that are here. And then lastly, this is a project in Albuquerque, and I think that this is on Route 66. There's a lot of similarities. You can see from the streaking lights in the photo. It's very similar to 3rd. There's people go pretty quick through there to try to get through the traffic light, which reminds me a lot of people trying to get through 3rd to cross the tracks before the train comes. So the reason I brought this photo was just to show some of the similarities to developing an active building next to a pretty busy roadway. The ground floor on this project includes some live workspace, which is similar to what we're proposing on our project here on Main Street. This also has a little different style because it's stucco, which is more typical in the Albuquerque market. Now I'll just jump right into the exciting part, our project here. As you can see, it's labeled Main Street to the north, 3rd to the east, and Meeker Street to the south. One thing you'll notice that's different on this site plan is that 2nd Street is no longer 2nd Street. We're proposing that 2nd Street be vacated, and because as it really doesn't go anywhere, it just dead ends at Main Street and is really not a very active through street. As part of that, we are undergrounding the utility lines, which will help beautify the skyline. It'll make the people living in the residential components of the building have a nice unobstructed view of the city from the upper floors. So I think that's an enhancement to the downtown district by undergrounding those utilities. We're also showing a plaza area that'll open up to Meeker Street. Let me see if I have the, do you know how to do the pointer here? Is that the? Let me see.
You should be able to see your pointer. Can you see it?
Yeah, it's not really moving. It's a little slow. I'll just walk through it. So there, you can see the plaza area that runs from Meeker heading north. Shoot this. Let me get out of here. Sorry about that. I'm not even going to try to use this cursor. It's too hard with my finger. So we have a plaza that runs along where Second Street was, and that'll open out to the new enhanced Meeker Festival Street improvements. One of the things that's really nice about that plaza, well, let me step back. There's three components that surround the plaza. There's 7 townhomes, which is on the for sale townhomes on the east side of the parcel. And then in an L shape, starting with Main and then curving down on 3rd Street, there's a 5-story, 115-unit rental housing component. That's mixed income. It's a mix of studios, 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units, all rental in that building. There's tuck under parking. You can kind of see on the site plan, there's a solid line behind the cars. That's actually the footprint of the building that's up above. One of the things that's really important by having that 5-story building is it will create a sound barrier for the train noise for the plaza and the food hall and the for sale townhomes. And we will have enhanced insulation and triple pane windows along the north and northeast side of the building to help insulate the sound from the train. It's probably one of the things that I noticed most of that site that is a challenge, which is trying to buffer that sound from the train for the Festival Street and for the internal uses of the project. In the center of the project, reusing a portion of the building that's on the site now, we will do an adaptive reuse of that building and build a food hall with approximately 10 to 12 micro restaurants, which would feature local business owners that want to start restaurant businesses in Puyallup. One of the things that's great about the food hall concept is that we put in all of the infrastructure so that really we tell people just bring your knives and your menu. Everything else we provide for you. There'll be sinks, stainless steel sinks, the hoods and the grease traps and refrigeration. So really people just need to bring their energy, their great recipes and enthusiasm. And that's a real benefit because an obstacle for a lot of small business owners is that tenant improvement, and the restaurant business is very risky for small first-time business owners. So we provide an opportunity for people to get into the restaurant business and succeed without that risk of all that capital investment up front. We also offer very flexible leases so that if it doesn't work out, they're not in 5-year leases. They can, it's short-term leases so they can, someone else can come in if they decide to move on. As part of the food hall, there will be a brewery. It won't be a production brewery, meaning that we won't keg beer to sell in grocery stores and other bars and restaurants. It'll be all the beer that's generated in this brewery food hall will be sold on site. So it's a very small brewery. One of the important things about this development is that housing, even though it's housing and the city really needs housing downtown, but it's really housing is economic development. In order to have people grow their businesses downtown, they need to have a variety of housing options that are walkable and affordable to various income levels. And to have the confidence to grow your business or to relocate and open a new business in the city, you want to know that there's a place for people to live that's new and nice and will make their employees want to stay and work. So I think we often talk about housing as purely housing, but it really is economic development. Some of the benefits that I'd like to highlight, and I probably won't be able to do it on the cursor just because I'm a little nervous about moving that around. We do have the plaza that runs up and down 2nd Street. We also are proposing public bathrooms, which are in the yellow space just off of Meeker space. Those bathrooms will be locked, except for when the city decides to open them for events and festivals. So you recognize that can be a real challenge if you have bathrooms that are just open 24/7. So we'll leave that up to the city as to what hours they want those bathrooms to be opened. We will provide storage to the city for some of the tables and chairs and event space items that are currently in the existing building. That'll be along 3rd Street, kind of under the tuck under parking. The parking spaces, the 20 spaces, are right in the center of the site where the green trees are. Those are the most logical place for those public parking spaces to be, whereas the parking for the residential units will be in the tuck under spaces underneath the podium. There's also on the farthest east side of the site, just behind the townhomes, there are entrances to private garages for each of the for sale townhome owners. There's also a row of parking spaces for the community on the far east side, I think where there's currently a carport in its existing use. So as far as timing of the project, I want to talk about that a little bit. We're anxious to get started with the next level of design. We would hope to be able to get started on the real design of the project starting in February of 2025. It would take us approximately 12 to 14 months to get to a point where we would be breaking ground, and then construction on the first component, which will likely be the 115-unit apartment building, because that's the largest piece. That typically, we're projecting that would be about a 14-month construction schedule. We would overlap the other phases once that phase is further along. We really want to make sure that the food hall is delivered and ready to be open for the public about the time that the Meeker Festival Street improvements are wrapping up and available. We don't want to have a situation where we're build a beautiful food hall and then have the construction of Meeker Street happening right after we have our grand openings. We have to have a careful scheduling of the completion of the Meeker Street improvements along with the opening of the food hall, so we can have a great grand opening in a couple of years. I think it was mentioned earlier that there's a mix of affordability. So the majority of the units are market rate, and without getting into exact rents, market rate rents in Puyallup for this type of newer rental product would be in the range of, for like 1 bedrooms, on average $1,900 a month for a rental apartment. 2 bedrooms would be around $2,500 to $2,700 a month. And for perspective, 80% of median income, which would be the affordable units, and that's based on the Pierce County area median income. The rents for a 1-bedroom unit at the affordable level would be around $1,600, and the 2-bedroom would be about $1,900. So there's a pretty significant discount, and that's at 80% of AMI. So this is what I was saying about the kind of the cartoon quality. I want to make sure that people don't take this literally. We're not going to have topo lines on the side of the building. This is just really to show the massing of the project. The solar panels on the roof won't be that large, but we wanted to highlight the fact that we really believe in sustainability. We we'll have the EV chargers. That's something we would do anyway, but we really believe in having EV chargers. We on most of our projects have PV solar on the roof to help offset all of the common area utilities. So all the hallway lights and site lighting would be covered by the PV lighting on the roof. The ground floor space would all be brick on all sides of the project. You'll see brick on the first level. Some places it'll go up more than one level, but certainly on the first 12 to 16 feet of from what you can see, as you're walking, will be brick, along with storefront glazing, which will be black or bronze colored storefront glazing on most of the windows. There's a lot of landscaping and greenery that we'll bring in. You can see in this rendering the activation of the plaza. So you really see the food hall kind of spilling out into the plaza that's also open to the public. So that could be a great place for people as they're walking along Meeker Street to stop and take a break and meet a friend. In this rendering, we're showing it a festival day. We know that the farmer's market won't be located here, but just would show what it looked like if we had an activity going on along the frontage. Here's another angle, just looking from the north, looking to the south and to the east. Along Main Street, we will have live-work units. It's really hard on that street because it faces the railroad tracks. It's really hard to have an active business district along that street. So we are proposing live-work units so that someone could have a small business there. And then we're building in flexibility that in the future, if there's more demand for commercial along Main Street, those spaces are already designed to have active businesses on the ground level. They're townhome units, so the second level would have the residential component. This is a street level view of looking north along what is currently 2nd Street at the active plaza. So the townhome units, they'll have a front porch and a little bit of a landscape buffer, and then it'll open up into the plaza. And we would see the food hall would have roll-up doors. They're closed in this image, but we'd have doors that would open up. So on a nice summer day, people would be going in and out of the food hall, out into the outdoor patio area. I'm going to go through just a couple of this images of, these are all from our businesses that we've, just kind of showing the day in the life of some of the breweries and businesses that we operate that'll be similar. And we're really proud of the quality of the beer that we brew. It really is award-winning. We win national awards, and it's a very popular beer and becoming more popular. So we have lots of space for the local community to come and visit with friends, but we're also a tourist attraction, so a lot of people come and visit our establishments because it's a destination. We hope to create a destination here where people from all over the region will want to come and visit the new facility, and then we want it to be a place where when you have friends come from out of town, it's like, let's go to whatever we end up calling it and have a bite to eat and have a drink and meet with friends. And then finally, I'm just showing you a couple of images of our Elvado and the Zed. Just, it's really family friendly. I think it's important to point that out. Oftentimes people think of breweries as maybe just a place to go and drink beer, but we really encourage them to be family friendly. Here's a couple of our motels that are, these are historic properties that we've brought to be modernized. All right. I could talk for hours, but I'll conclude there. And
I
open up for
understand.
questions.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'd actually seen some of these slides in the presentation, and I thought that what we had seen there with those lines on the side of the building, I thought that's the way it was going to be. And to be honest, I thought it was kind of cool. So I wouldn't necessarily discount you using those kind of graphics. I know that we have been very clear that this is a very important kind of keystone project for the community, and that quality is very important, and that's why I know you have been a company that we have been delighted to work with here. If you'd like to proceed, Brian, do you have more to add?
I do, and I'll try to go quickly here. City manager and Meredith Neal had asked me to talk about some of the fiscal impacts of the city and jobs, so I'll do that. So first of all, anything I talk about here is kind of based on this schedule that you see there, which Robert summarized, a phased build out of the mixed-use building, the market hall, the townhomes, and then also the Meeker Festival Street by the city, taking place starting in 2026 and ending in 2029. So first of all, there will be 122 housing units here. Those individuals living at these housing units, I project will spend at least $1.3 million in the city, many of those dollars in downtown. And that's based on a very conservative $10,000 spending per household. So this is a lot of people down here that will spend their dollars at businesses, many in downtown, and will help support other businesses. Over the long term, I'm showing that this project will generate almost $8 million, $7.8 million for the city. That's in property taxes, sales taxes during the construction, SDCs, impact fees, and also sales tax generated during the project. That's a lot of money. It's also a long time. I looked at a 40-year period for this project just because that's the kind of economic lifetime of a building, the typical building. But you can see here a few kind of relevant things, which is, first of all, the project today, or the site today, is generating zero in fiscal in revenue to the city. You will see a significant spike during construction of impact fees, SDCs, and also sales taxes that are generated by the project will be somewhere around $50 million in value, which kicks off that sales tax, and then there'll be a 12-year property tax exemption period in recognition of the fact that there'll be about 25% of the units will be affordable, but there will be sales tax generated by resident spending and also by the market hall and all the retail in the space, and then the property taxes pick up. So after that period, the city's getting $140,000, ramping up to almost $300,000 going over that long time period. This is just city revenue. It's not looking at state revenue, county revenue, all those other taxing jurisdictions, which is very significant. It's also not looking at utility fees, utility taxes, real estate excise taxes, other permits. I just wanted to kind of focus it on some things. You can see another view of it there, but similar information. We have been asked about what affordable means, affordable housing means. Really, I think one way to think about it here is workforce housing. It's not extremely low-income housing. These are going to be households that are earning generally between $50,000 and $90,000 a year. So it's middle-income housing. And the apartments, as currently envisioned and negotiated with Palindrome, apartments will be affordable for 12 years and the townhomes for 20 years, with the remaining units market rate. There will also be a lot of jobs generated by the project, about 175 jobs during construction. And then during operation, I believe we have 25 jobs projected in the market hall, the brewery, in the red here, and then a little over 25 jobs actually from the people working out of their homes, which is increasingly something that happens in residential projects, so a considerable amount of employment. So again, this is just some of those highlights. At least $1.3 million of spending for Puyallup businesses, $7.8 million in revenue for the city over the long term, 30 affordable or workforce units, and 175 jobs, 55 jobs during operation. And again, as I say there are numerous other taxes and fees that would be generated for many other taxing jurisdictions and for the city, not counted here. So with that, thank you. It's been a long presentation. We appreciate your patience.
Great, thank you, Brian. Let's go ahead and entertain questions. Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Robert, I had some questions for you. You've been with the company 20-some years, it looks like, quite a while, 24?
Yes, 24.
Great, excellent. Well, I can see, what's your role? Are you kind of an owner, or are you the general manager? Kind of give me your role there.
I'm an owner and president.
Okay, so it's like a partnership kind of group owner. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Tell me a little bit about your hospitality aspect of your company. I know you run hospitality in terms of some of the restaurants and breweries, but do you actually have any roots in actual hotels? And if so, are they your own unique kind of boutique brands, or are they kind of a chain brand? Can you expand a little bit about that?
Sure, yeah, thank you, Councilmember. Our hospitality division was really, they're all Route 66 boutique hotels. They're, one is a we started with a historic renovation of a Adobe-style Route 66 motel, and we own and operate that. So they're all individually branded boutique hotels that we own and operate. And they range, the biggest one's 80 units, the smaller one's about 40 hotel rooms.
Okay, great. So you're not doing any high-rise hotels at this point in your company's, larger pieces like a Fairfield or something along that line?
No, they're
Okay,
all-
or in a
they're all-
boutique style or something. Okay, all right. Could you give me a little bit of description? You mentioned something about a workspace or something. Would that be part of the unit that you would rent out? They'd have a workspace down below and livable. Can you kind of describe that? And maybe at some point, I'd love to see some examples or models of what that concept or space layout might look like.
Sure, yeah, thank you. We call it, I think by zoning, they're called live-work units.
Yeah.
We've designed them in a way that really, I think, as we've seen a trend since 2020, that more and more people work from home. So we've designed them so that the ground floor has a workspace that could operate as an office where you can have clients come to your home. So there's two entrances. There's typically one in the back that opens into the kitchen, and then the front portion that faces the street has an entrance for customers to come in. There's usually a bathroom that's open to it's ADA accessible. It's not part of your unit. It's really for the business. And then the living space is really upstairs and kind of divided. So it really is almost like a home office, but it's designed intentionally for outside customers to come into the business.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I'm intrigued by that. I mean, that kind of goes back to the original, Main Street of Puyallup. I mean, they had, people that had businesses down below and they lived up top. So it's a similar concept in a modern kind of setting. Just curious, not to hold you down, but what would those units in other places, what would those rent for? So if a person had a small business and they wanted to live, work, what kind of range would you expect in those?
Yeah, we have a similar example in Vancouver, Washington, and those do rent a little bit for a little higher rate than just a typical apartment. But not much different than the residential. I would think that like a 2-bedroom live-work unit would be about $3,000 a month. And a 1-bedroom would be probably like low $2,000 a month.
Yeah. I mean, it would seem to me you can't hardly even lease space, just the built office itself for that. So if you can kind of combine your house and your office, there could be some cost savings and also part of kind of a modern, professional setting. So that's interesting. Let's see here. I think that's it for now. I have to admit, I definitely appreciate your presentation. I can see why you're probably the go-to guy that represents the company. You do a very good job on your presentation and certainly make it very palatable and amenable. But I do appreciate, there's one thing I think the mayor and others would appreciate too. One of my sons really likes breweries, and there's some breweries in Tacoma that he likes to frequent. He's also got a couple of children, and so these are set up for a family affair. It's not like a bar or a tavern where you go in and there's these darts and loud music. It's really kind of almost like a restaurant. It happens to serve beer and some food, and so it does create this family environment. And one of the things that frustrates me is that, if you want to have a beer, you can't really go and do that without kind of taking the kids in a babysitter and dropping them off, or taking to a typical, lack of a better word, Denny's and try to do something there. So I think there's something pretty special about that concept. So I'm really intrigued with the potential family-friendly environment to be able to have some mixed use of clients and also community members. I think that's it for now. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Adler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, gentlemen, for the presentation. I am one of the newer members on council, but just like the other newer member on the council, have a very deep history and heritage in this city. And I think that gives me and the other newish member now that we are coming to the end of our first year in service, a unique perspective of having very strong regard for our heritage and our past, but yet having an eye towards the future. And as one of, or the only members up here that resides in our downtown core, right in our downtown core, this is very exciting. When I purchased my first condo here in the downtown core, I was very intentional that I wanted to live in a mixed-use building, which I do. The stars aligned, and thanks to God that was able to come together for me, because I recognize the uniqueness. And as a millennial, the ability to walk places, to be able to order a coffee from my phone, take steps downstairs and walk in and grab my coffee, and then go and sit on Zoom, and then be able to head outside briefly throughout the day to take my dogs out. I mean, this is a unique opportunity that I found myself in, and it has been, one of the best decisions that I have made in my life. This project is very exciting to me. I have long had folks come to me, whether they are my age, older, and some younger, say, man, I would kill to live where you do. You can go, enjoy yourself down the street and have a beverage, an adult beverage with your dinner, and walk home and not have to worry, about other folks on the roads and other safety hazards that there often are. And you can, the world is really your oyster. And so this project, I think, is a long time coming. As a newish member, I get the great honor to sit here and take pride and I guess ultimately some credit on this project, but I do want to thank the councils before me that have led on this. It will be a new era for Puyallup, but this is exactly what myself and many of my friends who are born and bred here and have grown up here have long wanted to see. And so I thank you. Thank you for your bright mind and your forward thinking, and I look forward to seeing this come to life.
Thank you.
Councilmember Gilliam.
Thank you, Mayor Castema. Being the other newish member on the council and with deep roots and I just fully align with Councilmember Adler on this project. I come from a different perspective in that I ran a drop-in center for at-risk youth out of that building from 2006 to 2017. And I can tell you the thousands of kids that came through that program and the heartbeat that they have, if they could afford to live in that space, they would, right? So I really appreciate the fact that there's an element of affordable living there. Really appreciate the element of continuing of a community connection. And I do appreciate that there's an adult element to that, but also opens it up for family and, again, that community connection piece. And I really appreciate even the thoughtfulness of the timing of the Festival Street along with opening up that common space. So there's so many great things to this project. I think we can say we're all very eager to bring a lot more beauty to our community in our downtown area that especially highlights community connection. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Great, thank you. I often think about that when I build these buildings, that they're more than that to me. I think about the stories that get created that in this time of the year, that for the next 40 years or 50 years, there's going to be traditions that are made. It's Christmas morning, and then someone may grow up in that space and build memories. And so it's more than just a construction project and bricks and lumber. It's actually a place that's going to be homes for hundreds of people over the decades. So that gives me so it keeps me going.
Councilmember Adler.
Sorry, I just have one question, and I wanted, this might be going down the rabbit hole, so I will, we can stop. We cannot go down the rabbit hole. And it's related to the brewery. And so, as you have stated, you have your own brewery, or you brew your own, you have your own labels. And so I just want to, go on the record and say whatever can be done to ensure that we incorporate Ezra Meeker, his family, his hop farms, his family's hop farms into hopefully your label. And if we can get, a Ezra Hef or something like that, I really hope to see that really come to life. It is probably didn't need to be said, but it makes me feel better to say it out loud. Thank you.
Thank you. We're one step ahead of you. We're already brainstorming ideas beyond Puyallup Pale Ale. We'll have a Ezra Meeker something.
Robert, thank you. As you can tell, we have members here that are from multiple generations of Puyallup, and that's not uncommon in our community that people grow up here. They go see the world and they come back. I did that. I left here at the age of 18 saying I would, frankly, I was never going to come back. I thought there was other places in the world, and I traveled the world, came back, bought my parents' house, and I've lived in that home now for 65 years. And that's not that uncommon of a story in Puyallup. Truth is, we love this community. And the council has made a concerted effort over years to focus on making our downtown core our commons from our 4 quadrants of the city. And this is where we all come together as Puyallupians. If you see our farmers market, I believe it's the largest farmers market in Washington State. We had a parade that is probably one of the larger Santa parades you're going to see. We have Meeker Festival. We have cruises that take place here with hundreds of cars. I don't use that term lightly, that people love this community. And therefore, that whatever goes there, they want to be something that, frankly, that our children will see someday. And there's that saying that kind of blessed is the person who plants a tree that they'll never sit under. And very dear friend told me that recently, actually. And that's what we do here. So in many respects, we really welcome the quality that you bring, because I think it'll be reciprocated in appreciation by this community for generations to come. So I'm glad sounds like we're ready to partner with your company. And I would like at this time to ask the city manager, Steve Kirkley, I believe you're going to address what kind of logistical steps we need to take to make this happen.
Yes, thank you. Can I just do it from the dais rather than coming down?
Please,
all right?
that's fine.
Yeah, thank you. So as you see, council, we have been working with Palindrome for a while on this, and we've done some preliminary work on a development agreement. So what a development agreement is, it's a contract that has different obligations for Palindrome, but also for the city. That development agreement has to come before you. You have to approve it. There has to be a public hearing as part of that. And then there would also be a component of a purchase and sale agreement where we would be selling the property to Palindrome. All of those will have milestones in them that will clearly lay out the different phases that Robert has mentioned, and that will have requirements before we can go to the next phase. So we anticipate coming back to you first quarter of next year. You see some of the preliminary drawings and the work that's been done. We've been doing some preliminary work behind the scenes on this because we do think it's an important project. And infusing $50 million investment into downtown Puyallup is not something we want to just sit around and ignore. So we want to get this back to you as soon as we can, and we hope to do that in the first quarter of next year.
Okay, just to be more specific on that, Robert did mention that they would like to start, and I want to do these in the proper order, et cetera, but he did mention that they would like to start that more intricate design phase in February. Mm-hmm. Would your timeline be able to facilitate that and, advise us as to the wisdom?
At this point, we could. You have, you have 3 meetings in January, 2 regular meetings, and a study session, and so we could bring a development agreement back in, later January and into February. There's 2 meetings, I believe, you have in February, plus potentially a retreat. So that absolutely could. Part of this will just be on council's decision making, and we will bring it back to you, but we know that you'll need to be looking at the details of that and making the final decisions.
Well, if I hear no objection, I would just ask that if that is compatible with, again, of course, making something that is correct, that we to make that decision in January. Okay?
Okay, we'll
But
do our
as-
best to get it back to you as soon as we can.
Okay? I don't want haste to cause any kind of errors. But if that is compatible, I think that I would like to see that. Again, hearing no objection. Okay, with that, any other comments or questions that any members have? If not, we're going to move on to the next item. I want to thank you for that presentation. Thanks, staff, for all your work on this. Again, thanks. Let's move on to number 6, other business, and we're going to get an update on our tourism branding. And Eric Johnson, if you want to come forward. I know you have the consultant here today. I see him. Certainly have seen the handiwork of you, Eric, and the consultant throughout our town. So please give us an update.
Yeah, absolutely. So Eric Johnson, City Public Affairs Officer, and good evening, Mayor and Council. We're here to provide you with an update on the tourism branding project, Puyallup Always in Season. And with me today is Kendon Shaw from Rotator Creative, our tourism branding consultant, and we're going to give you an update on some of the work that we've been doing. So just a quick rundown of tonight's agenda. So we'll just talk briefly on the background, how we got to where we are today, and then we'll talk about where we are. Currently the phase 3, so there are 3 phases to the implementation plan for the new tourism brand, and we are currently in phase 3, which is the advertising campaign, and then we'll have time at the end for questions and feedback. So just a quick refresher on the background. So at the January 10th, 2023 City Council meeting, you all approved the Puyallup Always in Season tourism brand and instructed staff to move ahead with the implementation. So in February 2023, we gave you another update on that implementation plan, which you approved, and you also approved $100,000 in ARPA funds to kickstart the project implementation. And in those years, we've worked on phases 1 and 2, and then we're going to give you an update on phase 3. And we were recently awarded an LTAC grant of $125,000 to continue phase 3, which we'll go into in just a moment. So where are we right now? So as I mentioned, we are in phase 3, which is the advertising campaign. So phase 1, we did sort of the brand activation with some of the banners downtown and the style guide. Phase 2 was the tourism visitor guide and also the website purepuyallup.com. And now we are in the advertising campaign, which can really be broken up into 2 buckets. Promotion in the physical world, which includes billboards, bus panels, posters, and coasters, which we have coasters and posters right here that Kendon's going to pass out to you right now. And then we're also working on some print ads in magazines. And then the second bucket is promotion in the digital world, and that primarily has to do with social media promotion, but we also did some advertisement on the Seattle Times' website. So I'll just kind of dive into some of the things that we've done. So promotion in the physical world, as you can see here in this photo, we launched a billboard on River Road. So if you're ever on River Road lately, you might notice something new there. We launched it in October, and it is currently running through the end of the year. And we are also looking at other billboard locations, particularly on the SR 512, I-5, and we're also looking at the SR 167. Again, promotion in the physical world, we've partnered with Pierce Transit. As you can see a photo there, we have purchased bus panel ads and also bus shelter ads, and we focus primarily on routes that are within the Tacoma area, but with the plan of expanding that out into other regions of the Sound area in Pierce County. And then promotion in the physical world, nothing beats old school marketing like posters and coasters. So as you can see here, we've got some posters out for here for you to look at. We've been distributing those to businesses throughout Tacoma and also in Puyallup, and we're also going to be making copies available for PMSA and also the Chamber and their visitor center. And then another promotion in the physical world, we did a preview ad at the Tacoma Grand Cinema and also the Blue Mouse Theater, which is an old historic cinema theater in the Proctor District of Tacoma.
Excuse me, Eric,
Yes.
can we buy these?
You can have as many as you want.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm thinking of the restaurants in Puyallup.
Oh, yeah,
If
yeah.
they could just buy them on a regular
Yeah,
basis.
yeah, absolutely,
You can
yeah.
order a ton.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we can
Okay.
absolutely work
I
on
mean,
something there.
If
yeah.
you order a ton and if the price comes down, I'm sure some restaurants would love to just hand these out on a regular basis.
Exactly. Yeah. So partner with the restaurants. Yeah. Just place them out. If people put their drinks out, I know lots of people like to collect them. So yeah, it's a nice touch point.
Very
So,
cool.
Yeah. And then promotion in the digital world. So we partnered with the Seattle Times and we did what's called a website takeover. So for one day, we took over their homepage in October. You can see a screen grab right there of what it looked like. So if you clicked on any of these ads, it goes to purepuyallup.com. So we did that for one day, the Seattle Times website. And in one day, we got over 605,000 impressions with over 1,000 click-throughs to the tourism website. So according to our ad representative over at the Seattle Times, it's very impressive, and so we're going to continue to partner with them on some other opportunities, mostly event-specific, but also that seasonal aspect, promoting the different seasons throughout the year. And then promotion in the digital world, we launched some social media. So you see a screenshot here of our Pure Puyallup Instagram page, which we launched, and we also launched a Facebook page. Primarily ads focused on building a following on both the Instagram and Facebook page, but also promoting fun things to do all season round, and also promoting the website purepuyallup.com. We're currently working with some social media influencers to produce what's called UGC, which is user-generated content, and that's content that they would then create and then share and tag us on Instagram and Facebook. So it's more of an organic marketing avenue, if you will. Results so far between the two ad campaigns that we've done on social media combined, we have over 705,000 impressions with over 530,000 reach and over 2,000 visits to the purepuyallup.com website. So looking ahead, some things that we're going to be doing in the future, we're going to continue to grow those social media profiles, optimize some of the social media ads for greater performance, kind of tweak some things, and experiment with some different content that resonates with people. We're also looking at some print advertising opportunities with some area travel publications, Northwest Travel and Life and South Sound Magazine, just to name a few. And then, as I mentioned before, we'll continue our partnership with the Seattle Times on some event-specific promotions. And then kind of a big lift that we'll be handling next year is updating the website with fresh new content and making that seasonal. Some other opportunities that we're currently exploring, we just met with the new executive director at the Chamber to do a brand installation at their visitor center. So the Puyallup Sumner Chamber of Commerce operates the official visitor center here at the city. So we met with them to go over some potential plans for implementing the brand in a cool way there. And then we're also in talks with the fair to talk about some brand implementation ideas and some advertising partnerships. So one additional item, so this was some council members had requested that we install the brand on the Chamber's south wall over here. So Rotator has created some mock-up options for you all to look at to add a splash of color to that wall over there. And we're going to go through 3 options with you right now. So we've got option 1 right here. This is one framed image of all of the 4 different seasonal banners. Altogether, you've got spring, summer, fall, and winter. And then option 2 is just a slight modification of option 1, except one framed image. It's 4 individual framed images of the banners that you see in downtown. And then option 3 is kind of more of a wild card. This is the, what was it, Kendon, the color wheel, I think we're calling it?
Yeah, the season wheel.
Yeah, the season wheel that is in our visitor guide and on the website. Just something to add a splash of color to that south wall. So we'll be looking for some feedback from you all tonight on which of those options you prefer, or if you'd like us to produce some additional options. So next steps, we're going to continue phase 3, the advertising campaign. We'll be partnering with the chamber to install some of the branding in the visitor center, and then we'll also partner with the fair on some potential advertising opportunities to piggyback on some of the advertising that they've been doing, and then we'll also provide future updates to you in 2025. And with that, we're going to go ahead and open it up to feedback and questions, and I'm available, and Kendon's also available to answer questions.
Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Of the 3 examples, I'd love to see none of those up there at all. I'd like to see something a little more. The pictures are nice. If I had to pick one, I would take the first one, but they're all kind of one frame. But I would really prefer to see some dimensional, 3-dimensional, like kind of like what you did here, something along this line here, that seal. There's just something very dimensional in 3D than just a frame kind of picture on the wall. That would be a preferable. It doesn't have to be these designs. It could be really anything, some nice verbiage. But I would prefer to see that than a frame. It's just kind of throw it out there. I mean, I'm not going to, make a big deal about it. But these did a nice job on this one. Love the seal here. Something kind of 3-dimensional there would be great and colorful, light up, and even large. It could even fill up that whole section, so it's like almost a mural.
Yeah.
It'd be great, yeah.
Councilmember Adler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Eric and company. So I appreciate the options. I also appreciate you listening to my feedback or desire to see something on the wall over there. I like option 2. I'm not married to it, but of the 3, that is my favorite. I still think that it would be great to perhaps put on display a variety of the banners that we already have around town. Now, I know that there's multiple for each season, but perhaps if we had one from each season that is currently on display out in the city, or 2 from each season that are out in the city, that I think that's where my preference is, just because I feel like it's not reinventing the wheel. And I do think that it would be nice to see all that has already been created and that is active, if you will, out in the city, just right here. And I think that there's some consistency there, but I don't do this professionally, so that's your job. But again, of the options, I like option 2. Going back to what you said about, I'm going to call it influencers, and back a couple slides when you were talking about partnering with local social media influencers. User generation content. So when you say that, I'm curious if this means that you are going to partner and utilize many of our businesses and their own social media followings, right?
Sure.
Because I think many of them have this, massive, each of them independently have just such a massive following because of their popularity.
Yeah. I can speak to it in a couple different ways. There's two avenues I want to suss out a little bit here. One is what you just addressed, and the other is like third-party influencers. In this case, we've started doing this already, and the way that it looks, you can look on the Instagram right now, is we have one up there. They take a little bit of organization and orchestration to create. We did one up there that performed really, really well. It's sort of like a self-care day downtown.
Mm-hmm.
She went to different nail spots. I'm forgetting what they are exactly, but we have someone else, not me, who's doing it. She's super great at it.
I saw it. I liked it.
You did see it. Excellent. So you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So that's exactly the kind of stuff that's like, here's who's in the community to go do this kind of idea, like self-care thing or beer tasting, and that might involve that other project in a couple of years or something like that. And so that's absolutely part of this trajectory, is to include all of those local businesses wherever we can. We're just starting. Additionally, we are starting the process of trying to get connections out there in a couple different places, but to create like those incoming influencers, somebody who has a large following, who does things, who goes out with their family or friends or makes that kind of content and would come to Puyallup and say, hey, I did this cool thing. So that's somebody coming in and we're borrowing their, I mean, you know how it works, but this is for everyone else, of course.
Yeah. So for example, like we could partner with an influencer that has like 1 million followers on Instagram, and they could come and do like a day at the farmer's market, and they could do a bunch of, Instagram reels about it, and that could share it out to other people. So, yeah.
Well, as someone who is easily influenced by the influencers on a particular social media app, which is why I bought a portable charger, I will say that I do think that that is a very good idea, and I think that it would yield a great dividend for us. So,
Yep.
Awesome.
great. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, waiting for 2 other opinions here, 3, I guess, if you included mine. Councilmember Gilliam.
Thank you, Mayor Caspa. I'll make sure my microphone is on. I am so impressed. Well done, Eric. All the information, getting the word out, it's beautiful, it's brilliant. Out of the options, I also like option 2 the best. But again, I'm not married to anything. I really like the idea of Councilmember Johnson talking about something 3D that really pops. I do like that idea. And no sense in reinventing the wheel. I like the tie-in to the seasonal banners in the city as being tied into here. I love that idea from Councilman Radler. So yeah, my thoughts are option 2 is the one I like the best out of those options, but I still have the 3D and tying us into what's going on in the community.
Great.
Thank you.
Councilmember Whitting.
Well, I just want to express my opinion that I go right along with the newish council members. I like option 2 too. Okay. But I really think the important part of this project is the social media campaign, and I like what you've done, and I'd like to see more of it. Thank you.
Love it.
Yeah, I am number 2.
Number 2?
Yeah.
That's the one.
That's where I'm at.
May I ask a question, just to clarify a little bit?
Please.
It'll help us for the next stage for this option number 2 for here. Just, I guess, a little bit to the group here. Part of one of the reasons we propose that is, if needed, it's easy to pull off its paper print versus something that is much more permanent. Headed towards this, so that helps. That helps focus that, as well as give options for in the future when, we have updated ones that we did in 3 or 4 years or something like that. So that's great on as far as like it's just reprinting and reframing, no problem. I wanted to maybe probe a little bit further, Councilmember Adler, on like seeing more of them. These designs here are not precisely, but basically exactly what the kind of general season brand is. There's usually one other on the other side of the pole that says other things that are more activity-based kind of thing. Are you thinking you want to see like a, general season brand for winter, and then also like the skis one or the coffee one, that sort of thing, like multiple of them, or just an assortment or that sort of thing? Thinking about not reinventing the wheel, we can pull those in pretty easily here.
Well, I'm just one of 7 here, and this I don't get to call the shots, but
Sure.
I like what you just said. The different ones, whether it's grab your skis and go,
I think, yeah.
or the coffee. I don't remember what the coffee one says, but obviously my personal favorite is turn up Puyallup, and so I think option 2. I'm good with this.
Sure. Okay.
I just have an affinity for the seasonal ones because I think they're clever, like Turn Up Puyallup, which is why it's my favorite. Nice. And so I just think that I am sure that we finally have some photo ID or memory ID that's growing out there, right, from the banners. So when folks come here and they see that, then they,
Link it all together.
Yeah.
Totally.
So,
great.
but again, whatever the will of the council and majority of the council is just fine by me. It'll be terrific to not see a blank wall. So thank you.
Yeah. Right. Awesome.
Councilmember Gilliam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I hear Deputy Mayor King's voice in my head right now. I think I heard him say something about not liking the skis because it encourages people to leave Puyallup. So if we're going to put something on our walls in City Hall, maybe we could do something in season of being and shopping in Puyallup.
Certainly.
Okay.
So I just heard his voice. Hopefully wherever he is, he I don't get in trouble for misquoting him, so I'll just own those words myself, but I swear it's his influence. Anyway, thank you.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Thank you. A question I have is, you are collaborating with the fair. Of course, the fair still has my favorite of all time, do the Puyallup. But is there any chance of them actually integrating Always in Season into their marketing campaign? And do you see that as being beneficial to Puyallup overall?
Yeah, so one of the things that we're talking with them right now, so we're actually doing some advertising with them through the Holiday Magic promotion that they're doing right now. So kind of doing a cooperative where, hey, you know, Holiday Magic at the fair, Puyallup Always in Season. So we have been talking with the fair's marketing team. And one of the reasons why we want to partner with them is that they just have such a large war chest of advertising stock that we can invest in. So being able to sort of ride those coattails and get the Puyallup Always in Season branding in with some of the stuff that the placements that they're making throughout the Sound region is really beneficial. So yes, we're having those discussions with them.
Good. I would think so. They want to be, of course, a year-round venue, and they're already.
Yes.
This latest, I'm going to take my granddaughter to the fair. I hear that Councilmember Johnson took his grandchildren to that. Said it was just absolutely stupendous. It was fabulous. So they want to professionalize that, make it, you know, kind of a Disneyland professional level type operation. So they'll be going all around the year. So I would think this would be ideal.
Yep.
That's the idea.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, any further questions or comments? Okay, if not, we're going to move on to the reports. And could we have the city manager report, please?
Yes, thank you. Council, congratulations, your 33rd meeting of the year is complete. It's the last one of the year. Quite an undertaking. That's in addition to all the other meetings you go to on the committees you serve. So that's just the city council meetings. The only update I have is I just would like to let council and community know that the 4th Street project, the stormwater project, the engineer has emailed me today and said that that street will be open by the end of this week. So that is the estimate, barring some unforeseen circumstance. I just want you and the community and many others who have been paying attention to that project, which, by the way, just as a reminder, that is part of the downtown economic development and increasing the stormwater capacity for our downtown. But that should be done at the end of this week. 4th will be open. And be a happy holiday for many. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Excellent. Okay, let's go to council comments. Start with Councilmember Gilliam.
Thank you, Mayor Castema. I think I'd like to close out the year by saying thank you to my colleagues for your incredible example to follow in positive communication and encouragement and excellent questions. I've learned a great deal, and I have a great deal of respect for each and every one of you, and I look forward to next year. So thank you very much. I also would like to do a huge shout out to our city staff. I hope the citizens understand how incredibly blessed we are to have such a phenomenal team headed up by Steve Kirkley, our city manager, but just our project management staff, our finance staff, our police chief. Everybody is incredibly dedicated to doing the very best work and being very fiscally responsible and really making the dollar stretch and coming up with creative solutions to get everything that we need, especially in a season of incredible inflation over the years, adjusting, being aware and making intelligent and very positive steps forward. So I know when the mayor is going to do a recap of the things that were accomplished this year, it's because we have a phenomenal team that does incredible research and is responsible and ethical and really watches out. So I also want to make sure I do an incredible shout out for Puyallup Main Street Association. I have the privilege of being on that board this year. I believe I get it again next year. I'm not sure how this works. I'm still learning, being newish. But the Puyallup Main Street Association has done a phenomenal job. If you walk downtown Puyallup, we have new murals just about everywhere. We could literally send people on a scavenger hunt for different art that's located just with the murals alone, not just the arts downtown, which is not Puyallup Main Street, but just in general, they do a phenomenal job supporting our local business and creating an environment where people want to be in and come and shop local. So I'm very pleased and honored and proud of Puyallup Main Street as well. So thank you, Mayor Castamo. It's an honor to serve with you, sir.
Thank you, Councilmember Gilliam. We'll go with Councilmember Whitting.
You know, since I've been on the council, a little more than newish, I'm in wrapping up my 5th year, and each of those years has been had a different complexion. And I think back to the earlier years, and our major achievement for one of those years was surviving COVID, and I don't look back on that very fondly. But this year, I think, is one that we have reason to really be proud of, and the two significant achievements that I'd like to reference at this time is the public safety building, a project that's taken a long time, and finally we've got it moving, and I'm excited to see that project move forward, and because we're not constructing a new building, it'll come to fruition relatively quickly. And secondly, the Cornforth Campbell project is, that's going to be a major thing for Puyallup, and going to open up some doors to our financial vitality here in Puyallup, and I'm really excited to see that happen. So those are two major things that happened, and I'm sorry if I'm stealing your thunder, Mayor, but I just have to applaud the work that's gone into those projects. Both of them were years, decade in the making, and we finally got both of them across the finish line, and I'm really excited. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Whitting. Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm glad this year is concluding in terms of council and in terms of life, and looking forward to 2025. As we enter into this next few weeks, I'm reminded that we're entering into this season that typically some will call a holiday, and it is certainly holiday, but for many it's called Christmas. And Christmas is not just unique to the United States, it's kind of unique to the world. In fact, there are over 160 countries or nations that celebrate Christmas around the world. It's not just America. And they estimate that over 2 billion people celebrate Christmas on December 25th. And here in America, one of the founding fathers gave us this protection in our country that those who don't want to believe in God don't have to. That's the beauty. You have free to believe or not to believe. And so I never want to force anybody to say Merry Christmas, but for those of us who do believe in God and believe in the birth of Jesus Christ, shouldn't be afraid to say Merry Christmas or to celebrate it in an open way, exercising your First Amendment of free speech and freedom to express your religion as you see fit, all the while knowing there may be a few people that don't, and that's up to them, and that's good. That's their choice. So as we think of this Christmas season, I think about the gifts that are giving. Many of us will probably give gifts. Many of us will receive gifts. As I mentioned, over $2 trillion economic development around the world is going on during this season. And I think back that there is one entity who started the gift giving, and that was God. And he gave the greatest gift of all mankind. For God so loved the earth and the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. He started the gift, and we, in some sense, perhaps reflect that gift, even though we could never give that level of gift. Certainly, he triggered that, and so we give, thinking about the greatest gift that was ever given. And so joy to the world, the Lord has come, and Merry Christmas to everyone. And then lastly, as we're entering into 2025, there is a lot of changes that's going to happen in our nation. And we see we have new leadership coming in, and a lot of concern from some people, a lot of celebration from some people, a lot of fears and resistance and all kinds of stuff. And I think it would be good for those who have the gift of prayer to pray, because we want our nation to be able to move through without a tremendous amount of excess turmoil. So I think those who have that belief in prayer would be good to pray for everyone. And then lastly, I want to say Merry Christmas and hi to Marla. I hope you're doing well. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure she is watching. I see her at times in the city, and she always wants to thank you and thank the council for recognizing her. So I appreciate you doing that. Well, folks, it's been my first year as mayor. Pardon me? Councilmember Adler, I apologize. You're next.
That's all right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be brief here. I just want to thank my colleagues for the opportunity to serve alongside you. Would like to thank the good people of District 1 here in Puyallup for their support. It has been a very good year. We have done hard things, which is one of the reasons why I ran for office. And I appreciate the opportunity to do hard things alongside you with the goal of serving our neighbors and doing right by our neighbors. I'd like to thank the staff. As I said last meeting or a few meetings ago, elected officials, those of us up here, we are nothing but the ornament on the hood of the car. And very much appreciate your long days, your long evenings, the time away from your family and friends to help ensure that Puyallup continues to be the best place and the center of the universe. Your hard work does not go unnoticed. And again, in particular, the time that you spend away from your family and friends. So thank you. I very much hope that all staff, as best as they can take time to reflect and relax and recharge and enjoy the holiday season as you are able. I also have to say a huge shout out to the Puyallup Main Street Association. What an incredible night this past Saturday was for the Santa Parade. And, as I stood on the stage with my colleagues here on Saturday night as we lit the tree in Pioneer Park, and as the Northlanders from Puyallup High School were singing, I really did think to myself, this is exactly what Hallmark movies wish they actually were. And that, it was very, that wasn't the first time I've ever participated in the Santa Parade or have been a part of the tree lighting, but it was very special this year. And since then, have watched maybe some Hallmark movies like I do throughout the season. And every time now I'm like, no, this is really what happened in real life on Saturday. And it's very special. And the last thing I would just like to do, every year I share this message on the Christmas holiday. And I thought that I would share it here now. And like I shared a couple meetings ago, right before the Thanksgiving holiday, I find a lot of good stuff from McCall magazine from many decades ago. And this is another one that I found many years ago and share every year. This Christmas and holiday season, mend a quarrel. Seek out a forgotten friend. Dismiss suspicion and replace it with trust. Write a love letter. Share some treasure. Give a soft answer. Encourage youth. Manifest your loyalty in word and deed. Keep a promise. Find the time. Forgo a grudge. Forgive an enemy. Listen. Apologize if you were wrong. Try to understand. Flout envy. Examine your demands on others. Think first of someone else. Appreciate. Be kind. Be gentle. Laugh a little more. deserve confidence, take up arms against malice, decry complacency, express your gratitude, welcome a stranger, gladden the heart of a child, take pleasure in beauty and wonder of the earth, speak your love, speak it again, speak it still once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lauren. Councilmember Adler. I apologize. Sometimes I get so caught up in the comments, I just lose the orders. And I appreciate, frankly, all of your willingness to say, Castema, you forgot this, or keep me in line. So I really, as my first year being mayor, I serve with mayors. I serve with former Mayor Dean Johnson. I serve with former Mayor Julie Dorr. I serve with future mayors. And it's quite an honor to be in this, and also know that I'm some respects this gavel I'm passing through, and I want to leave the community as best as I can for those that follow. I too was really taken by, and that was a great explanation. I was taken by that Santa parade, the ceremony we had in the park. I used to be in the Northlanders when I was in high school. You would never think it by the way I sing now, but I was actually there. And I think we started a very good tradition. They will come back every year. And that's just idyllic. What you want is something as cherished as lighting the tree to hear a choir, hear voices singing. It was angelic. It was just absolutely beautiful. And I agree with your summary of that, Councilmember Adler. I would like to go over some of what we did in this last year. If Councilmember Whitting, you talked about us recovering from COVID. Well, I want to say that we did a lot, and I'm just going to go over those rather quickly. You mentioned the public safety building, but that was a public safety building after 3 attempts at the bond, and they had failed. We had to come up with a solution. We needed that for our police force in Puyallup. It was essential. We also wanted to retain our jail and a downtown presence, and we were able to accomplish that this year. As Councilmember Whitting said, we are going to now have a jail that hopefully will be in towards the end of next year or the beginning of the following year. So rather immediate in the full scheme of things, but our police, who we think are exceptional, will now have an exceptional facility to match their expertise. So that was excellent. We also balanced the city budget at a time when the state is in peril with very difficult financial situation. County is talking about severe cutbacks. I saw one mayor I was talking to said that they suspect they're going to cut 10% of their workforce. And I'm not sure what the latest status of that is, but that's fairly indicative of what a lot of cities go through. But we've been very, I think, fiscally responsible. We balanced the budget here in Puyallup. We also approved the city strategic plan, which, I have in my career have been in contact with roughly, I'm not kidding, about 300 different municipalities. This one is outstanding, and we have a person who is dedicated to strategic planning, so this city has clear goals, clear performance measures, clear strategic initiatives that back up those performance measures. And then we go out into the community and we see what people actually think. And we pay a third party to assess this community. And they came back with just a resounding approval this last time that even befuddles me, of 90.4% approval for how the city is being run. I'm just so blessed that I live in a community that can rise to those kind of standards. We established the Transportation Improvement District. First time our city has done that before. We now have a dedicated funding source that will go out, and it will, again, be dedicated to all the different transportation projects we have, the road funding, which people really think is important in this community, pedestrian projects, these types of things. And the way we were going to pay for it is people from even outside the area who use our roads. They will all, through a sales tax, very, very, very small, tiny sales tax, they will also contribute to our roads in Puyallup that they use. So a fairly fair way of going about it. We completed funding and approved the project for the library teen zone, which the teens in our community will be very grateful for. We've approved the Meeker Festival street design. We have Also proceeded with the 9th Avenue Festival Street project, finalizing that in partnership with the fair, and that should be open by the time the fair opens in September of next year. We've upgraded the 4th Street stormwater. You've just heard that it will be open at the end of this week, but that's been a very key part to our downtown redevelopment so that developers don't have to waste crucial space for stormwater retention. Instead, we can go ahead and utilize that line to carry it out to the Puyallup River. We've now regained the Tree City designation. We've approved the playground at the Van Larup Park. You know, we had a plan, but now we're actually going ahead and constructing the playground there. We've implemented new parking plans for our downtown area and areas such as around Puyallup High School. That took a lot of work, a lot of study, and we approved it this year. We've installed a flashing light as part of the loop trail so that people can cross the street safely. I know that's a very small thing, but actually to those who go on the loop trail, it's important. We had our very first WSU Appreciation Week in collaboration with the fair. Now, we've been having College Appreciation Week out at the fairgrounds, but this one with the fair collaboration, and Councilmember Adler was the one that led that, was just an absolute, I mean, it was a wonderful event, and I think it foretells what's going to happen in the future with collaboration of WSU and the fairgrounds. We've, let's see, we also approved our sewer extension program in Puyallup that hopefully will allow a lot of areas in our community to actually have development and have a method to pay for those. And also, just one of the final things is we named the 5th floor lobby in honor of Lieutenant Leonard Candle, which was a big ceremony that we went ahead and paid honor to he and his family by naming one of our, probably one of more sacred places in Puyallup, our lobby, in our chamber, very important areas in his honor. And then finally, as mentioned by Councilmember Whitting, we have done all of this work, and now we have a presentation on the Cornforth property, which I have to tell you, I think that will be the beginning of a tremendous effort in downtown. You will see more developments now, and we've set the groundwork to make sure that those developments are good quality. We want, again, to make sure that in 50 years from now, people look back at these developments as they've aged for 50 years, and they say, boy, they really did it right when we made those decisions. Well, I had dinner with the mayor of Vancouver, and of course, they've gone through tremendous development, and I asked her, how did all this happen? And she said, well, it took one development as the spark, and after that, it was the place to be. We could go ahead and attract development, and if it's booming down there now, as you see, I predict that will be the way here in Puyallup, and I think it will be positive, because I think our downtown merchants, our restaurants, our parks, our festivals, all the events that we have, we're going to have a lot of people in the community walking, using our pedestrian amenities, parks and things of that sort, and I think that will be good for Puyallup, and that's a good way to grow. So with that, I'm kind of exhausted now after I've gone through all these. So I want to thank every one of you for being a part of that. Thank you, staff, for doing all this, and look forward to serving with each and every one of you 2025. Thank you very much. With that, this meeting is adjourned.